I'm not sure if there's anything shocking about me, but there was one time where I was robbed like 4 times in 1 week.
No ways. That's not true.
IQ in a very quick sense is how well do you think. EQ on the other hand is how well do you connect.
It's so funny how when I go and then I interview someone, even though they've got all the qualifications, if I sat there and the only thing this person was doing, he's so clinical, if that's the right term. It's just a person who's, saying the right things, but the next person, they may not be saying the right thing, but you can see that, oh my goodness, there's enthusiasm. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. Today I am with the lovely Thato. We are going to be touching on something that I think is really going to be impactful. But before we get there, I want her to introduce herself and then we're going to jump right onto my icebreaker. Thato, welcome to my channel. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Slinda. Thank you for having me. My name is Thato. I am a clinical psychologist and I've been invited today to answer some questions. So we'll see what they are.
Yes. Okay, Thato, like I mentioned to you just now, I always ask my guests to just have like certain icebreakers just so that you get to understand the guest, So I want to ask you one common question that I ask all my guests is, what's the one thing you think people will be shocked to know about you?
I'm not sure if there's anything shocking about me, but there was one time where I was robbed like 4 times in 1 week.
No ways. That's not true. Were you praying? What was wrong? What was happening?
I was on holiday. So I went to Bali. For holiday for my birthday. And literally when I get to Bali, I decide to actually like celebrate my birthday on the Friday and go out. Let me be this person and not be afraid of things. Bang tatela phone. I go, I replace the phone the next day. I replace the phone next day. I get to OR Tambo Ganti. I'm on the same flight with the Boca after they won in France. I got all my pictures, everything. Airport abantu bathe bangithathela phone in that whole stampede of people that came. My replacement phone. Ngingena straight eVodacom after that ngithenga phone. Kanti eCBD that Sunday nyobheka izinto zokuthenga. Bangithathela phone again.
No way. This was at 1 week.
In 1 week. I questioned my life. I was like, what's wrong with me? Why? Mina, I'm a person.
No. That doesn't make sense.
That was shocking. It was shocking. But I haven't had my phone stolen since. So maybe, maybe we have a quota in South Africa of how many times you're going to get robbed. And I filled my entire quota in 1 week.
You're done for the rest of your life. Your timeline, you're sorted. I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh my goodness.
It's a funny story now, at least.
At least, you can laugh at it.
Now we can laugh.
Girl, let's jump right onto the questions. Oh my goodness. All right. So what I wanted to talk about today, Thato, just for the sake of time, is that I remember having a call with you and I was just like, listen, Thato, I really do think that people tend to undermine how important emotional intelligence is, EQ. And they sometimes put IQ on such a pedestal. For me, the reason why I approached you, because you are a professional psychologist, is that really I do believe that emotional intelligence is something that we tend to just... we don't take it as seriously as we should. It's the reason why, even when you say something so profound the other day, but I'm hoping you can say it again, something along the lines of, even with your IQ, emotional intelligence can help you. It can help you get to where you're going, or even in the situation you're in because of your IQ. EQ is more important. Please tell me tell me about EQ and IQ. Just generally, what do you think about that before we jump onto the questions?
Very quickly, short answer. IQ is your intelligence quotient. Yeah. That's literally how well does your brain function to do the things the brain needs to do.
Sure.
Your processing speed, your ability to reason logically, your abstract reasoning, spatial awareness, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But EQ, so IQ in a very quick sense is how well do you think. EQ, on the other hand, is how well do you connect.
Sure.
And the funny thing about EQ is that it's not only about you or the other. It's both. Whereas IQ is all about you, right? How well can you do this and do that? But EQ starts with how well you understand yourself first, how well you regulate yourself, how well you're able to recognize your own emotions, and then to take those same skills and recognize those things in someone else, and then utilize them in conversation and connecting with others. So that would be a very, very basic description of EQ versus IQ.
Okay, yeah. I love that. I love that so much. So in your career, what do you think, or rather, could you just let me know, have you ever had to manage someone who thought that, you know what, for me, I've had to just be always this person who has a high EQ, and they didn't understand the importance of emotional intelligence? And how do you then explain to someone that, listen, you do need emotional intelligence. I understand that you need to be successful, and I understand Oguti, EQ, gets you to a point, but how do you tell a person who just focuses solely on, improving their EQ and just neglecting EQ? Sorry, yeah.
So, I mean, maybe for a fictional example, think of Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
Smartest guy you've ever met.
However,
you notice how much he struggled to first even be appreciated in the workplace, for his research, his mind to be appreciated, because he focused so much on that he couldn't connect with other people. And that's the same in my profession. I remember there's so many people. We eventually, when, you've gone through all the student years and whatever, you join then how you select the next cohort of psychologists. And it was so sad watching incredibly intelligent people not get into the master's program because they lacked EQ. And how do you plan to be a psychologist to sit? Yes, you have to be intelligent, be able to, rationalize with the person, apply the theory wherever you need to. But if you can't connect with the patient, the job disappears. Think about have you ever experienced a doctor who you felt like didn't listen to you? They can do their job.
Sure.
But you're not listening to me.
You're not listening. Yeah. You're just prescribing what you think I have.
Exactly. And usually we never visit those doctors again. Because as much as, yes, maybe the answer was right, the diagnosis was correct, you didn't give me the time to fully explain what I'm going through and show that I really understand that. And after hearing that, hey, man, this is what's going on. You don't have to be afraid. These are the steps you're going to take. But if someone is just boom, 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 this is the test, this is the diagnosis. I mean, you're left with so many questions.
Yes.
And then you're going to Google the rest of your diagnosis because your doctor failed to connect with you. And either you're going to catastrophize and make things worse and think about it. And we know the implications of placebo effect. You need to be in the right state of mind to heal. So just even the doctor example shows you how there's doctors out there, but they don't get a lot of patients because you don't have the right EQ and you're not connecting to your patients. So
I love that, Thato. I love that. So another question is, if you had to choose, would you rather be the smartest person in the room or the one who connects best with others?
I would definitely choose EQ over IQ. I would much rather be able to connect with others, because I think even as now we grow, we're growing in our careers, becoming successful. Have you noticed your success usually tends to hinge upon your network? Now, how do we get networks?
Yeah.
You can't be going to people going, here's my academic record and this is how well I passed and this is how I do my job. People don't really care about that. Now it's about, do I feel you as a person? Do you feel me? And that's how we forge relationships. So you can get so much farther, even if you lack the skill, just because you're able to connect with people, you're able to understand them and link or kind of like tether yourself to what that person needs, because you felt them emotionally. You know what their values are. You are linking on values and telling stories and being empathetic with what they've gone through. that person's going to remember you. In an interview, the one who just gave the right answers,
not
how
so much.
memorable are you?
Oh, funny enough, just to digress a bit, even in my own profession, so I'm in HR, right? It's so funny how when I go and then I interview someone, even though they've got all the qualifications, if I sat there and the only thing this person was doing, he's so clinical, if that's the right term. It's just a person who's, saying the right things, but the next person, they may not be saying the right thing, but you can see that, oh my goodness, there's enthusiasm, there's passion, there's a value, there's, I'm actually determined. So much so is Uguti, we tend to lean on choosing them because they're more teachable, first and foremost. EQ has so many branches, they're more teachable. You can tell that you're going to enjoy, they're going to be a part of the culture, etc., etc. I really do think that EQ plays such a pivotal role in wherever you are. You can have your EQ, but because you've got your not EQ, rather your IQ, but because you've got your EQ, it puts you in spaces where even though your EQ might not be as good as the next, but you are definitely going to get there. Because what I wanted to say to you is that I've also learned that you can further yourself, you can grow yourself, you can get there.
Cognitive capacity can always be improved upon, and so can EQ. We're not saying that. But I love the fact that you use the word teachable. It shows that in those interviews, when someone is giving that clinical, straight, intelligent answer, sure, you gave the right answer, but we left not knowing who the hell you are. Whereas when you show that enthusiasm, you were more effective in that conversation. Suddenly we realize, oh my gosh, this person's going to do well in this team, but that we need to upskill them in this area. There's so many things you got to know about this person and how they can fit into the organization versus the one who just gives the right answers. Like, yeah, you can do the job, but are you a fit for our company? You didn't offer us any information on that.
Sure. Another thing is that it even gets to a point when Thato, whereby even if this person is not perfect for the fit, but because of how well we've connected with them, you actually start looking for areas where you can squeeze them in. Okay, this person was here for maybe customer service, for example. No, man, I loved how he spoke or how she spoke. Maybe you can be in sales because of how we connected with you. Guys, EQ is so important, man.
So important.
It's so important. Please tell me, how would you then, advise some of us who are actually looking into upskilling our EQ, if I can put it in that way?
Kind of be selfish.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
And what I mean by that is EQ starts with you. You cannot develop your EQ if you're looking to just, how can I do this for other people? So in psychology, we use terms sympathy versus empathy. Now when you talk to someone and you're telling them how, maybe sharing a story of how things went bad for you in childhood, financially, this is what we went through, blah, 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 blah. And then someone goes, oh my gosh, that sounds so sad. I'm so sorry. Do you feel understood in that moment, or do you now feel like that person is pitying you? Now, if you're feeling pity, you're not going to continue telling the story. You're not going to continue divulging with that person.
Sure.
Because that person is exercising sympathy. It's like looking at someone in a poverty-stricken situation and going, oh my gosh, that is so sad. But empathy, on the other hand, is the ability to feel with you. And now when you tell me that story about what you went through in life and everything, rather than saying, oh my gosh, that's so sad, it's like, wow, that must have been a really challenging experience. I mean,
tell me about it.
I'm living it as you're talking, and I'm thinking I would have been so afraid. And now to hear someone reflect the feelings you felt just by them thinking, like I'm literally putting myself in your shoes.
Sure.
Then suddenly, now I feel understood rather than judged or misperceived, whatever the situation might be. So that's why I say EQ starts with you. Your ability to feel. Do you even know how to identify your own emotions? And if you're able to identify your own emotions, regulate your own emotions, then suddenly you can do that for someone else. When someone tells you a story, you're not just hearing a story, you're literally living it and going, that must have been terrifying. I would have been so angry. And suddenly when you reflect, they're like, yes, I was angry. And now you're connecting because you're feeling what I told you rather than just hearing what I said. So if we would like to improve on our EQ skills, I would definitely suggest that pay attention to yourself. Pay attention when you have an emotion coming along. Usually we all tend to want to suppress negative emotions. Breathe through it. Emotions are a process. It has an ebb and a flow. It comes and it goes. But emotions get stuck when you suppress it. So breathe through it. What is this? what is, I'm irritated, you know? And then suddenly now you know what irritation feels like before it even gets to that crescendo of I'm irritated. Meaning the next time you see just a flash of something tiny on someone's face, you're like, oh,
I know what
that's
this
irritation.
is. Yeah.
That's irritation. And I know that what helps, I did this to regulate that irritation. I breathe through it. I talk to someone. Now you can offer the same things that helped you.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you'll always be right, because we don't all maybe process emotion in the same way or feel it in the same way, but you're far more likely to correctly identify what that person is going through and connect with them on an emotional level, just because you've been able to do that for yourself.
Tell me, as a psychologist, do you think it would be best for someone who feels like, okay, I've got a low emotional intelligence or whatever, is it best that they go to a psychologist for them to get help, or what do you think?
Absolutely not. And that is not, I'm not, hopefully not offending my fraternity. This is a self-skill. Practice mindfulness. Sit on your own. This is why I say this is so much about you. Even if it goes to past experiences. When I felt that, when I felt angry, what did I do? Maybe you're a passive-aggressive person and you started like irritating people. Hanyane, like, you know, trying to get your lick back. You know how people say. How did that work out for me? Did it work out for me? Did it not? Did I like myself afterwards when I responded like that or not? And suddenly the next time I feel anger, okay, let me sit. Let me, you know, breathe through it. That's mindfulness. Breathe through that anger. Okay. Because usually a lot of the colorful emotions, if I can call it that, the complicated ones, they are what we call secondary emotions.
Sure.
Primary emotions are like primary colors. There's only 3 of them. Yeah. What is anger? Very usually, if you sit with it long enough and breathe, you're sad. But it's easier to express anger. But when you breathe through that emotion, you realize, I'm sad. I'm not angry that it happened. I'm hurt. And suddenly your approach to how you deal with whatever hurt you is very different, because now you're coming from a deep place of inner knowing rather than a place of reactivity. So definitely, there's, I mean, of course, if you feel like you need some guidance, of course, psychologists are there to assist you. But this is definitely something you can do on your own. And it starts with just taking an interest in yourself in the same way you wish other people would take an interest in you.
That is hectic. Goodness. Another thing is that what you're saying is not easy. I can tell you that. And it's quite uncomfortable. How do you then talk to the person who's at a place where it's just uncomfortable? They just want to stop. How do you talk to that kind of person? How do you tell them, or how do you advise them to push through the uncomfortability?
Do you mean the uncomfortability of feeling emotion?
Yes.
Everything comes with practice. There was a time, the greatest soccer players, there was a time where they could not kick a ball. They could not do dribble, and they felt embarrassed watching all the other kids being able to dribble. And they just had to put time and effort and being willing to fail. The willingness to fail. We have so much avoidance around failure, when actually failure has so much more to teach you than success does. You don't have to get it perfect, but did you try? That's all that you need. And even if it's uncomfortable, maybe for today you only let yourself feel the emotion for 5 seconds, and then this is scary, oh my God.
But daily practice.
But daily. Tomorrow, can I tolerate it for 6 seconds?
Sure.
Tomorrow, maybe to be in the presence of an angry person, if being angry is uncomfortable in you, can I just tolerate sitting with an angry person? You don't even have to do it. Borrow other people if you need to. And from there, just keep trying to upskill bit by bit, just by putting a little bit more effort each time. And eventually, it's like a muscle that you've been using for years. And now you know what you're doing.
I love this topic so much. I wish we had more time. Thato, I think I might bring you back. No, then this time we'll be, we'll be more prepared. We have to bring you back. But listen, I want us to just conclude. Do you have anything that you'd like to say to our guests about our topic, or just generally about being a psychologist and what you've experienced in your profession?
No, thank you, Slindo, so much for having me on your show today. I think what I'd like to, first of all, you've brought up such an interesting topic. I was intrigued when you brought this up. And I think the time at which it's coming, it's a perfect time.
It is, yeah.
Where right now in the world, you can see the gender wars that are happening right now in the world. But also I love that we are conversating about gender wars, inequality. Of course, feminism has been there for a long time. But EQ and IQ is actually a question of traits we associate with masculinity versus femininity.
Sure, that's
the greater.
It's a different perspective altogether.
I think so. I think that's the greater question we're talking about here, which I think it's such a good time that you're bringing this up, because we're living in a time where people are trying to integrate both sides which exist in every single person. And now to bring this up where IQ, the masculine, has been glorified for so many years.
Versus EQ.
Feminine. Feminine. Now we're seeing how necessary the feminine element is required. So what a great topic to bring up at this time in the world, in society, and everything we're going through. I think this is a really important topic to touch on and for people to think about. So thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
Talk about it.
I'm thinking that we have another one. I don't know about you, but I think I might hit you up with another one and we just dive into this in more depth. But yeah, thank you, Thato. Thank you for your time. And I really hope that the guests enjoyed this. If you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed, do so